Hi, I'm Mary Hodson, President of the Chamber of Commerce here in Hutchinson, Minnesota. Thank you so much for joining us for Chamber Connection. With me today, I have the project manager, Ben Sandos from MnDOT, and I have Tim Peterson, who is our community liaison with R&R Construction, our local company that received the bid for this project. We're going to walk you through the different pieces and stages of this project and give you a little bit more detail of what's happening on Main Street 2020. So Ben, we are now between Washington and First Avenue North, 2nd Avenue North. I have to count. It's a good thing I have sandals on today. What most people know as Gateway Park, all the way up to the corner of Library Square. Right now, we're out here on the 11th. You guys have a strip down the middle. You have sidewalks and curbing. Let's talk about how that happened, what that process was, what happens first. You told me curb is everything. It
Sure.
dictates everything.
Yeah, so basically we start off by completely tearing up the road, removing all the old utilities and putting new utilities in. Then once we get past that phase, we get to the point where we can lay what we call Class 5Q, which is just the base course, which is the gray material out there right now. Once that is laid, then we put the curb and gutter in.
So if people are coming down, if they're seeing it, there's more of a brown gravel and then there's a gray gravel. And you're talking about that gray gravel. That's the indicator that says this is ready to go.
That is the last layer that we put on it. I mean, there's final grading that you do before we put in the curb and gutter in the middle lane there, as we already have it. But I mean, once we got that down, then yes, we're done with the utility work and good to start putting the final layer of concrete on top.
Okay, so right now it looks like the street has a mohawk. That's what it looks like.
Yep.
We got a strip down the middle. Why is that?
You got to start somewhere. That's the first lane that we paved. So, I mean, really, this is the way this is set up. So, I mean, the contractor has a 13-foot paver. That's what this middle lane is. So we pave this one first. They're going to have to break down that paver, and it's going to have to be 11-foot lanes. So those will be your 2 driving lanes.
Okay.
And that's what will come next.
Now, when we were talking yesterday, Tim, you were talking something about when they do the last lane, the parking area, the parking lane, there was some handwork.
Yes, typically that's where the handwork is. Much like you see with the Washington Avenue, the way it was poured in diagonal sections over 2 days, and that is so they can lay the foundation correctly with the expansion joints.
Okay, so we'll take a look at that in a little bit, and you can point that out to us. So there is really a rhyme and a reason to how everything's done. It's just that people don't understand what that is, right? Because that's what I hear a lot of people go, well, this doesn't make sense. Why are they doing this and not this? But I mean, it's not like this is your first rodeo.
No, it's not. No, if you follow the process down here, it's pretty much the same process for each block as we go with the project.
Okay. And we're lucky enough that we're doing this during a time when we can show you the different stages. Okay, so before we whip over to the other side of the street, let's talk about the fact that you were just pointing out tracer wires and water utilities. So all that work was done under the street, but it has to get to the buildings. Tell us a little bit about that.
As Ben previously mentioned, part of the underground construction is replacing the sanitary and water services. And so what you see here was a curb stop, which is where part of the water services are changed over, and then the tracer wire follows the water line into the building.
So if you're out here seeing the dirt, the work still in dirt, and the sidewalk not quite completed, those are some of the things that are still happening as we move forward. So Ben, tell us about what this is.
So concrete, as we all know, it cracks. So basically we saw these at a uniform length to control the cracking. So on this one here, we saw this down, I think it's at a thickness divided by 3. And then all these cracks from the stresses within the concrete will go down here. So you don't get cracking up on the slab itself. It's all controlled to within this area. Some of these haven't completely cracked all the way through yet because this is new concrete still, but eventually these will crack all the way down. Yep.
So this is ready to go and stripe once we add the other ones.
Yes, exactly. Then if you move back a little bit, you got these pieces of rebar right here, which will be used to tie when we put this next lane on. you're going to use it to tie these two panels together.
Okay, while we're talking about the cement work, let's talk about the sidewalks.
Yep, so the sidewalk here, what we have poured so far is what we call our ADA sidewalk, which basically you need to meet ADA needs for people in wheelchairs, disability, that type of stuff. So all of these sidewalks are saw cut right here. These little joints, so you don't have any trip hazards, or they're not super deep, so like a wheelchair would hit a bump with it. When we come now to the boulevard section, which will be poured at a later date, that is going to be our colored concrete, and it's actually more of like a specialized finish, not like the stuff we had before, but like a tool joint, kind of like it'll look like a window pane.
So for those people who are watching going, no, we don't want that colored stuff. The colored stuff is different than what we have out right now, or what was poured a few years ago. Was really smooth, but it had a lot of dips in it. And so people with their shovels trying to remove snow, it was really difficult. Plus, it was really slick when it was wet. So we definitely worked on a lot of changes for that. So it should look really nice and be really functional.
Yeah, it won't have the stamp pattern, which I think was what holding some of the water in the last sidewalk. This is going to look more like this, but a little bit fancier, with just like a paint around this cut area right there. So
we're learning a lot about the concrete right now, right? So let's talk about the fact that we have concrete roads. This pass on Washington originally we thought was going to be a temporary crossing, but you actually went with the permanent crossing in the concrete. So a couple questions. First is, why are we not using asphalt? What's the difference?
The main difference between concrete and asphalt is just the lifespan of the material. Concrete lasts a lot longer than asphalt, so in a busy environment like downtown Hutchinson with a lot of traffic, it makes a lot more sense to do something with a longer lifespan. So that's why I'm pretty sure they arrived at concrete for this final road material. For this intersection out here, originally it called for bituminous, or asphalt is another name for bituminous, to be placed as a temporary measure just during construction so we could open up Washington. But the contractor proposed putting in permanent concrete right away, and that's what we ended up going with. So now we won't have to rip this out and put in concrete later.
So you got something else for us?
Yep, this right here is a catch basin for the storm sewer. The storm sewer basically catches and controls all the rainwater that comes on the street. Since the street's impermeable, you have to do something with the rainwater. And basically, we'll catch the water here, it'll flow to the middle of the street, run down the middle of the street all the way down to the water down that way pretty much. Okay. So that's how all that goes.
So these are some of the big pieces that we have been seeing while we've been at the office watching them put in the ground then.
Yes, like the piece right here is not one of the huge pieces. The big pieces are the ones in the middle of the road, because you'll have 2 or 3 of these little guys feeding one big structure. And that big structure has to be able to take all the water from these little structures, taking it in pretty much. So
perfect. There's a lot of pipe. I don't even know what the big ones are called. What are the big ones called that are going down the middle? Is that even considered a pipe as big as it is?
we consider like the big one standing upright as like a drainage structure, anywhere from like 48, I think 48's our biggest out here, 48 inches. The pipes are typically what feed your drainage structures. So the big ones, they'll be your manholes. These ones are your catch basins.
48 inches. Yes, folks, that is almost as tall as I am. Thank you for noticing. So I just realized that Tim's almost as tall as the light poles. Almost.
Almost, right.
Yeah. So you guys had to take out the light poles, but we still need security. Downtown, you need light, right?
Correct. So what we did is, as the poles were taken out block by block, temporary wooden poles were put in through the stretch of this construction project, providing temporary light, and they'll be replaced and removed once the lighting structures are ready to go.
Do we know what the time frame is on getting those back? Because those are the poles that we had. We took them out. We're getting them refurbished, correct?
Correct. They're getting sandblasted and repainted, and they'll probably be installed, some in the first couple blocks at the end of the month, and then block by block, as construction goes, the light poles will then follow.
And as the construction goes, so do we. Come on. So, Tim, along Main Street, we have a lot of orange fencing. Let's talk about that.
So what the fencing is, it provides security for the pedestrians as they try to come and enter the businesses in downtown. The platforms are essentially a temporary sidewalk. So what you call this is TPAR, temporary pedestrian access routes. And as you can see, the fencing here is a guide, lets them guide for anybody that wants to stray. It keeps them on the temporary path.
I will say that people do still need to be cautious when they're walking on it because it's plywood and it's a construction zone. Would you not agree?
That is correct. There could be some joints, some uplift, or some things like that. So always watch where they're walking as they walk down to view construction.
Okay, so now we see a large curve to the curb that you've been telling me about, and I see a lot of stakes. What's going on here? It looks like it bumps out.
Yep, we call those a bump out, and basically what bump outs do is they extend the sidewalk further into what would normally be like your driving lanes, so pedestrians have a shorter distance across the road. It makes it a little bit safer for pedestrians, and it also, since it bumps out, cars notice it a little bit more too.
And that would be good because if you are a pedestrian in downtown Hutchinson, you know that people are typically watching the lights and not necessarily for pedestrians. So hopefully it'll slow people down, make it safer for us. So this looks to me like a really big game of King of the Hill. That's what it looks like to me.
Sure, I guess. I mean, right now, basically what they're doing is they're digging out there for services which connect to the buildings. So that'd be your water main and sanitary services, right, Tim? Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. So
So-
it's one big sandbox right now, as you see it.
So we've had the vantage point from our office. It looks like big boys with big toys.
That is correct.
And he is not apologetic for it whatsoever. So is this new dirt or old dirt coming out?
This is existing dirt.
Is this going to go back in?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay. So this, they take it out, they change up everything they need to, put it back in. So these are really, let's put it into perspective, people. I'm 5'1", okay? These are big machines, really big pieces of equipment. And we were just talking about some of the weight of some of the machines that are back over here.
Yeah, so some of the backhoes that we actually have on site are a 50-ton and an 85-ton hoe to remove the dirt to allow for both removals of the street and to put the pipe in the ground.
Okay, so for those of you who are unsure of what a ton is 2,000 pounds. So that means that one of those machines is 100,000 pounds
That's correct.
to play with dirt,
Yes.
he says with a grin on his face. That's incredible to think about and kind of try to process that. That's a lot. How much is a fire truck?
Hutch Fire Department, our ladder truck is 72,000 pounds.
So, and that's big, but this is even more substantial. Okay, do you have any clue, I'm putting you on the spot, any clue how many different types of equipment, pieces of equipment you have out here?
Roughly 8 different types of equipment to the construction.
That's a lot of machinery to keep track of and maintenance.
And that's not including the trucks, the side dumpers as well. Yeah.
Let's also talk about the fact that you have a lot of equipment, but you can't keep it right here downtown, right? So you have a lot of pieces and parts that you need for the project. Right. So you're keeping that a little bit off-site.
Right. We have an off-site construction where we house everything, all part of our inventory, some of our road equipment. But as you can see, it looks like a bottleneck right now as we go, but a lot of the machines have to be moved around according to the production phase. So right now, as you see, the backhoes, 2 backhoes are working right now as we're putting in services, and the road packer roller and the grader are, the dozer are idle, as well as the vibrator packer are idle right now.
Oh, wait. Is this the vibrating packer thing from last week?
That is a roller packer, yes, that packs the earth.
This is the thing. I had to come out, and luckily Tim was outside, and I could ask him what it was. I'm like, this roller thing is interrupting me because you have to compact the dirt. Let's talk about that piece of it, that you can't just make a pile of dirt and put a road on top.
Right, you have to stabilize the foundation before you put the street on top of it, absolutely.
Yeah, so how many times would you go over with something like this, or how many layers of gravel and dirt are you putting on?
In our case, we're doing probably 2 different types of gravel that get packed at different intervals.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible what a machine like this can do. One of the concerns was obviously our historic buildings and things like that. You guys went through, there's insurance if something were to happen, but you also went through, did a lot of measurement, did videos to make sure that things were being taken care of and safe. It's amazing what a building can take when you're doing a project like this, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I mean, that street construction is, going to have some vibrations, but nonetheless, the buildings have been pretty sound.
Yeah. It's just that some of us might be a little bit more tender and sensitive to the cement floor shaking underneath their feet.
And or the vibration, which is your frequency that you feel.
And I already have a high frequency, so there you go. All right, so we want to wrap up a little bit before we go, though. I want to say thank you to Ben and to Tim, to MnDOT and R&R for being here and working on this project that's so important to our community. We know that it's a road to an even better Hutchinson. That is a good tagline, by the way. But a couple of things I want to learn really quick. Let's talk to you about the timeline. Because the timeline, feels like you've been able to overlap some pieces and parts. And so it looks like we're ahead of schedule a bit.
Yeah, I would say that we are a little bit ahead of schedule, maybe 2 weeks. I think Tim yesterday on the radio said 10 days is kind of what he was thinking. We've overlapped. This is a phased out project, so we have phases 1 through 4. And between phases 1 and 2, we've overlapped a block, and 2 and 3, we've overlapped a block, and right now we're actually a block into phase 4. So all of that stuff was kind of planned. I think the main stuff that's really been saving us time is the material that we're dealing with, and then the weather that we're dealing with. We have not had a ton of rain, and we have very good material to deal with out there right now.
We have different soil than other communities have, and that makes a difference.
Yes, here, at least for these first few blocks that we've been doing all the way up to pretty much 2nd Ave South, it is granular material, and when it comes to road construction, that's what you want to be working with. It's really good.
So we had talked way early on that, they thought that we had sandy soil and that would make it drain easier, but yet without the lack of rain, it's almost too dry. You said the other day it wouldn't be bad if we had some rain.
Right. Since part of the project is obviously we have a water truck coming around to help pack the soil. So if we have some rains, timely rains, anywhere from a tenth to 3 to 4 tenths always can help with compaction.
Okay. And it wouldn't hurt the farmers either, right? Or my garden, right?
Or your garden.
Or my garden. Mary's garden. So let's also talk a little bit about who's on site and working. How many people do you have on site at any given time? And how many subcontractors do you have coming in?
Currently, we at R&R on this north project, we have 6 in a pipe crew today. We've had as many as 12 to 14 given different phases of the construction project. And then we've had from an electrical subcontractor, bituminous paving contractor, concrete paving contractor have been pretty much the subs that have been on site most of our days here.
So since you're a Hutchinson-based business, are a lot of your people from the local area, or do you have people who are traveling in?
We have a mix of locals and surrounding area, and then some that travel about an hour.
It's really nice that we can have a local business doing this. I can't tell you how happy that makes me. I was really excited when they opened up the bids and R&R got that bid. Looking forward, Ben, knock on wood, everybody knock on wood, because that's the right thing to do, that we continue to have good weather and everything kind of continues to be going well. I mean, we talked earlier about not running into contamination as much as first experienced. What are you thinking for the timeline? Do you think we can keep a 2-week, 10-day schedule ahead of time?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable to look at a 2 to 10 day ahead of time right now. It's kind of hard to tell with the way these projects come out because, I mean, you're never completely done with one phase. There's always little parts that you got to tidy up. Like, I mean, where we have the sidewalk right now, we still need to pour the ramps. We still have to pour some portions where we have light poles and stuff like that. So it's hard to tell exactly where you're at. But right now I feel like, yeah, probably 2 to 10 days. 2 weeks to 10 days, sorry.
Plus, you still have to do the entrances to the businesses as well, it looks like.
Yeah, some are completed right now, then some others have to be tied in. Yeah.
Any last words for people as the summer continues? We're juggling COVID. We've got this project going on. Any other last thoughts or things that might surprise people about the project?
Sure. I guess some of my last thoughts would be that not only this north project, the one that everybody focuses on, we have a south project that's starting up this week. We started on removals just south of 5th Ave South. So people watch out for that because that one will be open to traffic the whole time. So, I mean, we're going to be doing removals of sidewalks, pouring new sidewalks under traffic. So there will be shoulder closures, lane closures. So just expect some minor inconveniences with traffic and stuff like that.
That's a good reminder. I saw they were taking out big chunks of sidewalk today and making them in nice little piles, little stacks of concrete. Okay, how about you? Any last thoughts, any last words or things that surprise you?
No surprises, just echo what Ben said was because the South project we just started this week is to make sure people are aware that there might be traffic delays. It will be done under traffic. There will be some streets that are closed for a few 2-week increments, and then the sidewalk, of course, will be removed and poured hopefully within a 2-week increment as well. But use alternative streets whenever possible if you want to go north to south, and then please abide by the barricades that are out as well as the sidewalk barricades.
Gosh, right? So those sidewalk barricades are for your safety, as are the road barriers. And we have seen today people go past the sidewalk barricades. And 2 days ago, I saw someone go past a road barricade. And it's so frustrating because they put themselves and other people into danger, and that's not what we want here. We want to keep everybody safe. So in that, we'll wrap up. Thanks again to Ben and Tim for being here and taking time out to help you understand more about this project. I hope you join us next month for another Chamber Connection. If you need more information about the project or you're interested in learning more, you can go to explorehutchinson.com and click on the Main Street 2020 icon. We have links directly to MnDOT's page, and we have lots of information on all the updates that are happening. Thanks so much and have a great month.